The Terran Exploratory Fleet. Captain Jenna Samuels stood on the bridge of the TES Magellan, her eyes fixed on the viewscreen displaying the swirling blue vortex of the wormhole. This was it. Humanity's first extrasolar jump, the culmination of decades of research and trillions in funding. The hopes and dreams of Earth rode on the success of this mission. 2 minutes to wormhole entry, the helmsman reported. Samuels nodded, taking a deep breath to steady her nerves. As the seconds ticked down, a hush fell over the bridge. Then, with a blinding flash, the Magellan lurched forward, plunging into the shimmering portal. Samuels gripped the arms of her chair as kaleidoscopic colors danced across the viewscreen. Consoles beeped and whirred, the ship groaning under the strain of faster-than-light travel. Then, as suddenly as it began, the wild ride ended. The wormhole vanished, replaced by an unfamiliar starfield. "Citrip," Samuels barked. "Where are we?" "Telemetry coming in now," the navigator replied, fingers flying over her console. "We've arrived in the Alpha Centauri system, 4.24 light-years from Earth. All systems nominal." Samuels allowed herself a small smile of relief and triumph. They'd done it. The first successful extrasolar jump in human history. But the smile quickly faded as the sensor officer called out in alarm. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple contacts at the edge of sensor range. Unknown configurations, but they're massive. And they're headed our way at high speed." Samuels leaned forward, studying the threat assessment data flooding across the viewscreen. "Hail them, all frequencies. This is Captain Jenna Samuels of the Terran Exploratory Fleet. We come in peace, on a mission off." She was cut off as the ship suddenly lurched, nearly throwing the crew from their seats. Alarms blared as the bridge plunged into darkness, before emergency lights brought an eerie red glow. "Report," Samuels shouted over the din. "What hit us?" "Some kind of electromagnetic pulse weapon," the tactical officer replied grimly. "Main power is offline, shields down to 20%. They're jamming our comms." The view screen crackled, then resolved into an image that made Samuel's blood run cold. A nightmarish being filled the screen, all chitinous armor and glowing red eyes, its mouthparts clicking as it spoke. "Terran vessel, you have violated the sovereign territory of the Xeraxian Empire. Your trespass will not be tolerated. Leave this system immediately or be destroyed." Samuel stood slowly, her posture radiating defiance even as fear coiled in her gut. She had trained for this, wargamed dozens of first contact scenarios, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of facing a hostile alien species. "This is Captain Jenna Samuels of the Terran Exploratory Fleet," she repeated, keeping her voice steady. "We are on a peaceful mission of exploration and mean you no harm. We were unaware this system was inhabited. We apologize for the intrusion and request the opportunity to open a dialogue between our peoples." The alien's eyes narrowed, his clicking intensifying. "There will be no dialogue, Terran. The Xeraxian Empire does not engage with primitive species. You have one planetary rotation to leave our space. If you are detected after that time, you will be eliminated. Do not test our resolve." The screen went dark, leaving Samuels in stunned silence. Around her, the bridge crew looked to their captain with mixtures of fear and uncertainty. Samuels knew the fate of not just her crew, but potentially all of humanity rested on her next move. First contact had been made, but instead of a new era of peaceful exploration, they found themselves facing an imperial power bent on their destruction. She took a deep breath, straightening her uniform. "Comms, get a tight beam message back to Earth, top priority. Tactical, bring the weapons online and charge the jump drive. We may need to fight our way out of this." "And if we can't, Captain?" her exec asked quietly. Samuels met his gaze, a steely resolve in her eyes. "Then we make damn sure Earth knows what we're up against. The Xeraxian Empire just declared themselves our enemy. It's up to us to make sure humanity is ready for what comes next." Xeraxian ultimatum. Captain Samuels stood firm on the bridge, facing down the imposing visage of the Zyraxian commander on the view screen. Despite the aliens' threats and the battle-damaged state of her own ship, she refused to back down. "Commander, I must protest your aggressive actions," Samuels said, keeping her tone measured but forceful. "We are explorers, not invaders. Surely there is room in this vast galaxy for both our peoples to coexist peacefully." The Zyraxian's mouthparts clacked in what might have been a laugh. "You do not comprehend the magnitude of your error, Terran. The Zyraxian Empire spans 1,000 star systems. Our technology is millennia beyond your primitive vessels. There can be no coexistence between us, only subjugation or annihilation." Samuels bristled at the alien's arrogance. "I think you'll find humanity is not so easily cowed," she retorted. "We have faced existential threats before and emerged stronger. We do not seek war, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." "Then you doom your species to extinction," the Zyraxian snarled. "This is your final warning. Depart now and never return, or face the full might of the Zyraxian war machine. Your pitiful planet will be reduced to ashes, your people enslaved or eradicated." With that, the transmission cut out, leaving Samuels staring at a blank screen. She turned to her crew, seeing the fear and determination mixed on their faces. "You heard them," she said grimly. "They won't negotiate. We need to get word back to Earth. Let them know what we're up against." "The Zyraxians are still jamming long-range comms," the communications officer reported. "We have to make a run for the wormhole to get a message through." Samuels considered for a long moment. The Magellan was badly damaged, its weapons no match for the Zyraxian warships. An attempt to break the blockade would be suicide. But they couldn't just slink away with their tails between their legs. "Prepare a data package with everything we've learned about the Zyraxians," she ordered. "Specs on their ships, weapons, any intel we've gathered. If we can't get it to Earth, we'll send it into the wormhole and pray someone on the other side is listening." As the crew hurried to carry out her orders, Samuel studied the tactical display. 3 Zyraxian battleships encircled the Magellan, with a dozen more hanging back at the edge of sensor range. Escape seemed impossible. Suddenly, the sensor officer called out in surprise. "Captain, new contacts emerging from the wormhole. It's the rest of the fleet." Samuels felt a surge of hope as a dozen Terran warships, led by the dreadnought TES Olympus, materialized on the scanners. They had been just a few hours behind the Magellan on the jump schedule. Now they might be humanity's only chance. "Comms, get me Admiral Takeshi on a secure channel," she ordered. Moments later, the grizzled face of her commanding officer appeared on the screen. "Captain Samuels, you want to tell me why I'm staring down the barrels of a Zyraxian battle fleet right now?" Takeshi growled. "Sir, the Zyraxians have declared this system off-limits to humanity," Samuels reported. "They're demanding we withdraw immediately or face annihilation. I believe they intend to make an example of us to discourage further human exploration." Takeshi cursed under his breath. "Damn arrogant squid. They think they can bully us into submission. Well, they're about to learn that humanity doesn't back down from a fight." He turned his attention back to Samuels. "Captain, I'm ordering the Magellan to withdraw. Get your ship and crew back to Earth safely. We'll handle things here." "With respect, Admiral, I'd like to stay and fight," Samuels said firmly. "This is our mission, our responsibility. We started this, we need to see it through." Takeshi shook his head. "Negative, Captain. The Magellan is in no shape for a sustained engagement. Earth is going to need every ship and every experienced officer for what's to come. Don't throw your lives away needlessly." Samuels wanted to argue, but she knew the Admiral was right. The Magellan limping home was worth more to Earth than a futile last stand. "Aye, aye, sir," she said tightly. "We'll make for the wormhole and get this intel back to command. Give the squids hell for us." "With pleasure, Captain." Takeshi out. As the screen went dark, Samuels turned to her helmsman. "Lay in a course for the wormhole. Best speed." Comms, transmit the data package to the Olympus and upload a copy to the relay buoy. If we don't make it back, at least Earth will know what's coming. With a shudder of its abused engines, the Magellan peeled away from the standoff, accelerating towards the distant glimmer of the wormhole. Behind them, the battered but defiant Terran fleet moved to intercept the advancing Xeraxian armada. The first shots of the war that would reshape the galaxy had been fired. Humanity's future would be forged in the crucible of conflict with the Xeraxian Empire. And Captain Jenna Samuels had a sinking feeling it was a future that would be painted in blood and fire. The Galactic Council. The Xeraxian Emperor slammed a clawed fist down on the ornate table, his chitinous armor rattling with rage. The humans must be contained. He roared, glaring at the assembled representatives of the Galactic Council. Their reckless aggression cannot be allowed to infect the rest of the galaxy. Murmurs of uncertainty rippled through the chamber. The Galactic Council, an ancient body representing the major spacefaring civilizations, had convened an emergency session in the wake of the Terran-Xeraxian clash in the Alpha Centauri system. "With respect, Your Majesty," the willowy Eldari ambassador interjected, "the humans claim they were merely exploring, and that it was your forces that fired first. Perhaps this is a misunderstanding that can be resolved through diplomacy." The Emperor's eyes narrowed dangerously. The only misunderstanding is the humans' belief that they have any right to trespass in Xeraxian space. They are a primitive, uncontrolled species, a threat to the stability of the established order. They must be reined in before their chaos spreads. And how do you propose we rein them in? The crystalline Verandi delegate asked pointedly. The humans demonstrated impressive tactical prowess in the Alpha Centauri engagement. They are not as primitive as you assume, which only makes them more dangerous. The Emperor snarled. Imagine what havoc they could wreak if their technology continues to advance unchecked. They must be quarantined to their homeworld, by force if necessary, for the greater good of the galaxy. The chamber erupted into argument, with representatives shouting to be heard over each other. The human issue had clearly struck a nerve, with some seeing them as a threat, others an opportunity, and a few advocating patience and restraint. "Order. We will have order," the council mediator called out, his psychic voice reverberating through the minds of all present. The clamor slowly died down as attention turned to the cloaked figure hovering at the head of the table. "This council's purpose is to maintain the great galactic peace that has endured for epochs," the mediator intoned. "We must not allow hysteria or paranoia to cloud our judgment. The Terran's actions, while perhaps rash, hardly warrant the extreme response the Emperor suggests." The Xeraxian ruler bristled, but held his tongue as the mediator continued. "However, it is clear the humans represent an unknown quantity. Their rapid advancement and unpredictable nature are cause for cautious observation, if not alarm." The mediator gestured to a side chamber. "I propose this council dispatch a team of observers to study these Terrans in depth before we decide their fate. Learn their capabilities, their intentions. Then we may chart the wisest course." Grudging murmurs of assent moved through the assembled delegates. None were eager to commit to an overt move against the humans, not without more information. The risk of igniting a wider conflict was too high. "It will be done," the Eldari agreed. "My people will lead this observation mission. Our stealth technology will allow us to monitor the humans undetected. The Verandi will join you," their ambassador added. "Our remote data taps can infiltrate their networks, give us insight into their communications and knowledge bases." One by one, the other races volunteered their expertise. The Krith would seed human space with microdrones. The Synthex would run advanced probability models based on the humans' past behavior. Even the normally isolationist Vogue agreed to share their centuries of experience in first contact scenarios. In the end, only the Xeraxians refused to participate, the Emperor storming out in disgust at what he saw as the Council's cowardice. But even he dared not openly defy the group's will. Not yet, at least. As the Council session adjourned, and the delegates made preparations to brief their respective governments, a palpable sense of unease hung in the air. The humans had, in a few short years, gone from a minor curiosity on the fringes of known space to the potential pivot point upon which the galaxy's future might turn. The observers would need to tread carefully. The humans had already shown a knack for confounding expectations and upending the status quo. If mishandled, the fallout from humanity's rise could shatter the delicate peace that had held for eons. And in the shadows, the Xeraxian Emperor brooded, his thoughts dark with wounded pride and malevolent intent. The council might dither in debate, but he would act. One way or another, he vowed, the human problem would be dealt with. No primitive upstarts would be allowed to challenge Xeraxian supremacy. The galaxy would learn to fear the might of the Empire, even if it meant painting the stars red with Terran blood. The observation mission might give the humans a brief reprieve. But if the Emperor had his way, it would only be the calm before the storm. A storm that would see humanity broken and brought to heel, or scourged from the cosmos entirely. Allies and enemies. Captain Jenna Samuels rubbed her eyes tiredly as she pored over the latest intelligence reports. In the months since the Magellan's return to Earth, the Terran exploratory fleet had been working around the clock to prepare for the coming storm. The wormhole to Alpha Centauri had been heavily fortified, ringed with minefields and bristling with gun platforms. New ships rolled off the orbital dry docks on a weekly basis, armed with the latest in shielding and weaponry. The discovery of hostile alien life had united humanity like never before. Old rivalries and conflicts subsumed in the face of the Xeraxian threat. But even as Earth girded itself for war, Samuels held out hope for a diplomatic solution. In between naval briefings and strategy sessions, she had been in constant contact with Ambassador Talia Wren, Earth's newly appointed envoy to the Galactic Council. "I'm telling you, Jenna, there's an opportunity here," Talia said earnestly over the secure comm line. "Not all the Council races are aligned with the Xeraxians. Many see their aggression as a destabilizing force. If we play our cards right, we might be able to neutralize the Xeraxian threat without firing a shot." Samuel sighed. As a soldier, she was more comfortable with a straightforward fight than the twists and turns of galactic diplomacy. But she couldn't deny Talia's point. Outright war with the Xeraxians could devastate humanity, even if they somehow emerged victorious. An alliance with other space powers might be their best hope. "All right, what's your plan?" she asked, leaning forward. Talia grinned. "I've been in talks with the Eldari and Verandi ambassadors. They seem open to the idea of technological exchange. We share our advanced computing and biotech. They help upgrade our ships and defenses. A few of the other races have expressed interest as well. If we can show the Council that we're willing to be responsible galactic citizens." A new era. The Xeraxian warship loomed ominously on the viewscreen as Captain Samuels and her crew braced for impact. But the expected barrage never came. Instead, a garbled transmission cut through the static. "Terran vessel, hold your fire. The Xeraxian Emperor is dead. The war is over. We wish to discuss terms of a truce." Stunned silence fell over the bridge before cheers erupted. In the following days, the truth came out. A coup within the Xeraxian hierarchy, backed by the Galactic Council, had toppled the warmongering Emperor. Moderate factions sued for peace. At the ensuing negotiations, Ambassador Wren's alliance bore fruit. Key Council races vouched for humanity's potential as a stabilizing force. Captain Samuel's restrained conduct at Alpha Centauri was held up as proof of human maturity. In the end, a compromise was struck. Humanity would be granted probationary status in the galactic community, with limited access to new star systems and technologies. The Xeraxians would withdraw from claimed Terran space but maintain a watchful eye. Trust would have to be earned. Not everyone was satisfied. Hardliners on both sides felt their peoples had conceded too much. But for now, a fragile peace held. As the ink dried on the accords, Captain Samuels shook talons, tentacles, and appendages with her former foes. The galaxy had changed forever. The dangers and opportunities of the cosmos now lay open to humankind. A new era of exploration and expansion awaited. Earth's destiny would be written in the stars, and it would be up to the heirs of the first contact generation to navigate the perils and potential that destiny entailed. The adventure was only beginning.